잠시 후 행사를 시작하고자 하오니 모두 자리에 앉아 주시기 바랍니다.
We will be starting soon.
지금부터 2021년 리서치 데이를
We will now
시작하겠습니다.
start 2021 Research Day.
안녕하십니까. 오늘 행사의 사회를 맡게 된 연구진흥팀
Hello everyone, I am Seomin from the Research Promotion Team and I'll be the moderator for today. We want to thank all the participants for participating in today's event. This is our 6th Research Day at KAIST. And we want to express our gratitude to the KAIST researchers who are spending their day and nights on research. And we want to make sure that we congratulate the research performance of our professors. Due to COVID-19, we are having this event as an online broadcasting on top of a minimized offline event. We want to express our appreciation for those who are participating, and we are also sorry for those of you who cannot be here in person. And we want to ask a lot of people to participate through online.
안녕하십니까. 이상엽입니다.
Hello everyone, I am
딱
Sang-Yeop
이따가
Lee.
서시면 아시겠지만
So you will feel this when you stand here later. You won't be able to see anything because it's only light here and everywhere is dark. It is a very meaningful day today and it is a very happy day today.
연구 중심 대학으로서
As a research center university, we have made a lot of achievements. And among that, we have especially the participants and professors and students here today. And these are the people who have made representative achievements at KAIST, and we will be rewarding them and encouraging them. And that is why this event was placed. And we will also be sharing research achievements. Therefore, we believe that this will be a very meaningful event.
2021년도
Starting now, we will start 2021 Research Day, and I want to declare the opening. Congratulations.
다음으로 국회에 대한
Next, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. We want to ask everyone to stand and stand facing the flag.
국회에 대하여
Salute the flag.
자연스러운 흐름이야. 자유롭고 정의로운 대한민국의 무한 영광을 위해 충성을 다할 것을 굳게 다짐합니다.
Now you can stand tall again, and we will be
모두 자리에 앉아 주시기 바랍니다.
skipping the national anthem. We want to ask everyone to be seated once again.
다음은 조강현 연구처장님의 수상자
Next, we
선정
will
과정 소개가
be
있겠습니다.
introducing the selection of the awardees.
Hello, I am the AVP of Research, Cho Kwang-hyun. Today marks the 6th annual Research Day, hosted by the Office of Research. Every year on Research Day, we give an award and a financial prize to outstanding researchers to congratulate them on their hard work and to create a culture in which researchers can be proud of their research and to create a stage of celebration for researchers. This year, because of the coronavirus situation, we are having an online and offline event. I hope that this opens up the opportunity for more people to join our event in various methods. So before we give out the awards, I would like to introduce to you how we chose the winners. For the grand winner, we looked at their research contracts for the past 5 years, their overhead, their IO achievements, and the royalty. And for the research prize, we looked at their research achievements for the past 1 year, For the Innovation Award, we looked at their overseas patents for the past 1 year and their technology commercialization contracts and other things such as consultation for technology and startups. For the Transdisciplinary Research Prize, we looked at their work the past 1 year for the groups that worked and has made outstanding research achievements. And we have received recommendations from colleges and the research committee to choose the winner. The International Joint Research Prize, we looked at the past 1 year of international joint research, and the prize is given to an individual or a group that has made outstanding research achievements. The recommendations were made by the college, and the decision was made by the research committee. The Hyunwoo Kai Scholastic Award is given by the donations of the Hyunwoo Cultural Foundation, and it is given to one outstanding scholastic achievement of KAIST. For 2020, the top 10 KAIST research achievements, we look at the research achievements of professors from 2019 and 2020, and we receive recommendations from each department, and then each college creates a rank of the recommendations and chooses the top 10 recommendations. So soon, we will be able to see the top 10 KAIST research achievements through video. Today, we will be hearing lectures from Professor Kim Moon-chul of School of Electrical Engineering, Park In-chul of the School of Electrical Engineering, Professor Shin Il-chul from the Graduate School of Medical Sciences and Engineering, the Innovation Prize winner Professor Roh Jun-young from the Graduate School of Culture Technology, and for the Transdisciplinary Research Prize, Professor Dong Ki-yoon and Professor Kim Hyung-soo. For the International Joint Research Prize, we have Professor Cho Byung-kwan and Professor Nam Jun-han. And last but not least, we have Professor Baek Hyun-woo. So I am sorry that we could not invite more people to this event to celebrate together. And I would like to thank our professors for their outstanding research work despite the difficult situation. Thank you. Next, we will have the award ceremony. We will be giving out the awards and then the 2020 top 10 research achievements. We have a total of 19 winners. We will ask the president to come to the stage to give out the awards. Grant Award, School of Electrical Engineering, Professor Kim Moon-chul. This award is given to Professor Kim Moon-chul for your outstanding research work and because your research work is representative of KAIST. This prize is given to you on Research Day of 2021, May 25th, 2021, KAIST President Lee Kwang-hyung. Next, Research Prize, Professor Park In-chul, School of Electrical Engineering. The honors are the same. This prize is given to you as of May 25th, 2021, KAIST President Lee Kwang-hyung.
수상자 중 의과학대학원 신희철 교수님은 시상에
Professor Shinichul
참석하지
could not
못하셨습니다.
join us today.
다음은 이노베이션상을
We will go on
시상하겠습니다.
to the Innovation Awards.
이노베이션상 문화기술대학원
Innovation
교수
Award,
노준용.
Professor No Jun-young, Graduate School
기업계에서는
of Culture
2020년도의
Technology.
기술 이전 및 사업화를 통하여
This
관련
award is
산업
given
분야
to you
혁신에
for your
기여함으로써
achievements in
공교육
technology
우수 연구 성과물
transfer
공유 및
and
확산에
commercialization.
기여한
You
바
have
같으므로
contributed
2021년
to the
리서치데이를
innovation
맞이하여 이 상을
of
드립니다.
technology and
2021년 5월
industry. This
25일
award is given to you
카이스트
as of May
이광형.
25th, 2021, KAIST President Lee Kwang-hyung.
다음은 융합연구상을
Next, we have the Transdisciplinary Research Prizes. It is a team award.
융합연구상 화학과
Transdisciplinary Research Prize, Professor Yoon Dong-gi of Chemistry.
융합연구 활동을 통하여
This prize is given to Professor Yoon Dong-gi for his outstanding work in transdisciplinary research. May 25th, 2021, KAIST President Lee Kwang-hyung. Transdisciplinary Research Prize, Professor Kim Hyung-soo. The honors are the same.
다음은 국제 공동 연구상을 시상하겠습니다.
Next, we have the International Joint Research Prize.
국제 공동 연구상 생명과학과 부교수 조병관.
Professor Cho Byung-kwan.
대학에서는 2020년도에
You're given this award for your international research efforts, and you have contributed much to the development of KAIST, and we are giving you this award to commemorate the 2021 Research Day. KAIST President Lee Kwang-hyung. Next, Professor Nam Joo-han, Graduate School of Culture Technology. The honors are the same.
다음은 현우 카이스트 학상을 시상하겠습니다.
Next, we will give out the Hyunwoo KAIST Scholastic Award.
현우 카이스트 학술상 화학과 교수 백무현.
Hyunwoo KAIST Scholastic Award, Professor Baek Moo-hyun. This award is given to you for your outstanding research achievements in 2020.
이 상을 드립니다.
May 25th, 2021, KAIST President Lee Kwang-hyung.
다음은 2020년 대표 연구 성과 10선에 대한 시상이 있겠습니다.
Next, we will have the awards for the top 10 KAIST research achievements of 2020. We'll ask the professors to come to the stage. Professor Lee Ho-chul, Professor Chung Won-seok, Professor Kong Kyung-chul, Professor Chung Won-seok, Professor Chang-ho, Professor Yoo Hye-jun, Professor Kim Pil-lam, Professor Cho Kwang-hyun, Professor Lee Hyun-ju, and Professor Nam Taek-jin.
화학과 이호철 교수님이면 기호성 박사가 대리 수상자로 참석하셨습니다.
We have someone else receiving the award for Professor Yochol on his behalf. Professor Yochol will receive this award for his outstanding research activities that has large academic, social, and economic value. We are given this plaque as we celebrate 2020 Research Day, May 25th, 2021, Vice President Lee Kwang-hyung.
연구성과 10선 생명과학과 조교수
Next, Professor Chung Won-seok. The honors are the same.
네, 가시면 됩니다. 연구성과 10선 전기 및 전자공학부 부교수 서창호.
Next, we have Professor Seo Chang-ho.
죄송합니다.
We seem to have had a change in the order of calling the professors.
연구성과 10선 전기 및 전자공학부 부교수 서창호 이하 내용 같습니다.
Professor Seo Chang-ho, the honors are the same.
연구성과 10선 기계공학과 부교수
Professor Kong Kyung-chol, the honors are the same.
연구성과 10선 전기 및
Next,
전자공학부
Professor Yoo Hye-jun.
이하 내용
The honors are the same.
연구성과 10선 바이오 및 내과학
Next, Professor Kim Pil-lam. The honors are the same.
연구성과 10선
Next,
바이오 및 내과학과
Professor Cho Kwang-hyun. The honors are the same.
연구성과 10선 생명과학과
Next, Professor Lee
이현주
Hyun-ju.
이하 내용
The honors are the same.
연구성과 10선 산업 디자인 학과
Next, Professor Nam
이하 내용
Taek-jin. The honors are the same.
다음은 이광영 총장님의 격려사가
Next, we will hear the congratulatory speech from President Lee Kwang-hyung.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a very happy and meaningful day. We are celebrating the research achievements for 2020, and we have had many innovation and research over that year. Therefore, I am very happy that we are able to congratulate and encourage those professors. We want to express our gratitude and congratulations to all professors who worked hard last year. And especially, we want to congratulate Professor Kim Moon-chul and many others who are receiving the prize for their research achievements. And we also want to congratulate those professors selected for 2020 Top 10 Research Performance of KAIST. And we also want to encourage the students who helped out. I think the professors were able to make this achievement thanks to those who supported them. It's been 3 months since I have become a president and I have met a lot of people. So I did expect this. However, I once again felt that there is a high expectation for our university. Therefore, we have to make sure to be able to meet that expectation. And I do feel a heavy responsibility as a president. However, I want to make sure to work hard together with you. And once I work hard with you, I believe that we will be able to satisfy the expectations felt from the outside. KAIST is focusing on the research and developments, and we are also representing trust, and I think everyone knows that. Today's research day is to make sure that we are being able to check the direction of where we are going, whether we are actually focusing on research for our nation or for the leading research. I believe that we should move away from how, but go into the direction of the what research, where we are actually finding out what to do. Last year, we ranked 39th from the International University Evaluation. I think this is thanks to the efforts that we have made. We have now become a world-class university, and we have a dream of becoming one of the top 10 universities in the world. Until now, we have been a follower researcher. However, if we were to continue to do so, we cannot become a world-class university, because even if we become world's top university in a research that everyone has already done, that is not too meaningful. The meaning is not too high if we were to do that. So therefore, we need to become world's first now, and we should take on the challenge to become world's first. And I focus on post-AI for that reason. Most universities across the world are focusing on AI, and there are leading universities that are excelling in AI. And we believe that in 10 to 20 years, AI will become a part of our daily lives. Therefore, we have to consider what we need to do for that future and to be able to contribute to the future. And I think that is the only way for us to become a leading university. I hope that our professors and students will go into a path that no one else has gone into, and I'll make sure to support those that will. And I'll make sure that you can do any sort of research and it will not be hindered by any regulation. And I'll make sure to support and explore researchers who want to go into a new field. And I want to be able to create an open campus culture so that you can be able to express all that you can and be able to fulfill your potential. And I hope that all of you here today will be supportive of that too and energize our university. I want to congratulate the awardees once again. And I also want to thank all the relevant personnel who were able to arrange this event. Thank you. Just as a reference, I have an external guest coming in at 11 a.m. and I will have to leave this place just before 11. I want to ask for your understanding in advance.
다음 순서로 2020년 카이스트 대표 연구
Next,
우수 성과로 선정된
we will watch
10선에
the
대한
video of
공동상
KAI's
시청이
top
있겠습니다.
10 research achievements in
2020년에도
2020.
많은
In
교수님께서 우수한 연구
2020,
성과를
many
이루셨으나
professors made
그중에서도 뛰어난
excellent
10개의 연구
achievement,
성과를
and we
선정하여
have decided to
연구 내용을
select
이해하기 쉽도록
the
간단하게
particular top
영상으로
10s, and we have made it into
공동
videos so that you can
시청하시겠습니다.
easily understand the contents of the research. We will now watch the video.
이렇게 해서 단원자 상태의 히토류 그 원소의 산화물을 만들어 갖고 그걸 수소하고 반응시켜서 그 히토류 원소 즉 이트륨이라든가 란타늄 같은 원소들을 금속으로다가 전환시켜 갖고 백금하고 섞으면 완전히 그 두 개 사이에 그 원소의 비율이 원자의 비율이 몇 대 몇 대는 어떤 그 특정한 비율이 되는 그 화합물을 만들 수가 있어요. 그래갖고 우리는 지금 3대 1짜리를 만들었는데 이런 그 화합물 나노 입자를 만들어서 촉매로 쓰면 프로판을 프로필렌으로 만드는데 그냥 백금을 쓸 때에 비해서 여기 지금 보시면은 뭐 한 10시간도 안 가는 백금 촉매에 비해서 수명이 화학 반응성이 한 20일 정도 지나도 뭐 한 절반 정도밖에 지금 줄어들지가 않고 있습니다. 그래서 굉장히 그 수명이 길고 또 그 여기 저 오른쪽에 있는 슬라이드 오른쪽에 있는 걸 보면은 프로필렌의 선택성도 굉장히 좋아집니다. 그래서 거의 뭐 95%, 98%이 정도의 그 큰 선택성을 나타내기 때문에 굉장히 좋은 촉매를 얻었다고 할 수 있습니다.
이렇게 간단한 경우지만 이 모든 원자의 이러한 세세한 위치를 실시간으로 추적한 경우가 이번 경우가 세계 최초였습니다. 그리고 일정 시간이 흐르게 되면 아주 안정한 상태의 분자가 형성이 되고요. 그 안정한 상태의 원자 주변으로 그 원자들이 어떻게 움직이는지 그러한 움직임을 우리가 또한 추적해낼 수가 있었는데요. 예를 들어서 이 원자들이 대칭적으로 움직일 수도 있고 원자들이 비대칭적으로 움직일 수가 있는데요. 그리고 그 원자들이 얼마나 빨리 움직이는지 그 진동수에 대한 정보 이 모든 것들을 우리가 이렇게 얻어낼 수가 있었습니다.
네, 저희 실험실에서는 이 뇌에 존재하는 다양한 세포들 중에서도 이 비신경 세포인 에스트로사이트와 마이크로글리아가 어떻게 시냅스와 인터랙션을 함을 통해서 이 시냅스의 숫자나 기능이 조절되는지에 대해서 연구를 진행하고 있습니다. 성체 내에서도 저희가 새로운 것을 배웠거나 기억할 동안에 새로운 시냅스들이 끊임없이 생겨나고 있고 이와 항상 수반하여서 기존에 존재했던 시냅스들이 사라진다는 것이 보고가 되어 왔습니다. 이런 현상 중에서 도대체 어떤 기전을 통해서 시냅스가 사라지고 또한 이렇게 열심히 만들어 놓은 시냅스를 도대체 왜 제거해야 되는지에 대해서는 잘 알려진 바가 없습니다. 저희 실험실에서는 이번 연구를 통해서 이 비신경 세포 중에 하나인 에스트로사이트가 시냅스를 끊임없이 제거하고 있고 이런 현상이 잘못됐을 경우에서는 기능이 약화된 시냅스가 뇌에 쌓이게 되어서 기억력 유지에 나쁜 영향을 끼친다는 것을 발견할 수 있었습니다.
각종 사고로 척추를 심하게 다쳐서 척수가 손상이 되면 하반신의 운동 기능과 감각을 잃어버립니다. 이러한 장애를 극복하기 위해서 줄기세포를 비롯한 수많은 기술들이 개발되어 왔지만 그 어떤 것도 실제로 장애인들을 일으켜 걷게 하지는 못했습니다. 그리고 이제 그것을 가능하게 하는 것이 바로 로봇 기술입니다. 워컨슈트는 걷기만 가능하게 하는 것이 아닙니다. 앉고 서고 중심을 잡고 서서 물건을 쥐고 좁은 공간 사이를 지그재그 통과하고 울퉁불퉁한 험지 위를 걷고 계단을 오르내리고 역경사면 위를 걷고 20도가 넘는 경사로를 오르내릴 수도 있습니다. 특히 앞을 보면서 계단을 내려오는 기술은 저희가 전 세계에서 유일합니다.
우리는 AI가 만연한 시대에 살고 있습니다. 이제는 매우 중요한 결정까지도 AI가 인간을 대체하기 시작하고 있습니다. 하지만 AI를 단순 적용하면 어떤 특정 그룹에 대해 공정성이 크게 깨진다는 것이 밝혀졌는데요. 이는 AI 기술이 주로 데이터를 기반으로 하고 있기 때문입니다. 즉 데이터가 편향이 된다면 편향된 결과가 나오는 것입니다. 즉 편향된 데이터로 인해 공정성이 보장이 안 된다, 이렇게 얘기할 수 있습니다. 자, 이런 상황에서 저희가 한 거는 뭐냐면 이런 문제를 해결하기 위한 AI 기술을 개발한 것입니다. 자, 저희가 개발한 공정성을 보장하는 AI 기술, 이는 다양한 기관에 적용될 수 있을 거라고 전망을 하고요. 그리고 공정하고 윤리적인 사회를 구현하는 데 보탬이 될 거라 희망합니다. 감사합니다.
저희 실험실은 2006년부터 DNN 가속기 반도체 칩을 제작해 왔으며 최근에는 겐피유라고 하는 그 딥페이크용 칩을 만들었습니다. 겐피유는 그 반도체가 화가가 됩니다. 그래서 새로운 이미지들을 만들어내고 또한 그 새로운 그림들도 그려내서 보통 여러분들이 얼굴을 더 멋있게 만들거나 또는 여름에 찍은 사진을 겨울로 바꾸고 싶을 때 그럴 때 사용할 수 있는 획기적인 칩이 되겠습니다. 걔는 제너러티브 어드버서리얼 네트워크의 준말로서 최근에 딥페이크의 대두와 함께 많은 화두가 되고 있는 그런 알고리즘이 되며 그 알고리즘을 세계 최초로 반도체로 가속할 수 있도록 해서 모바일 시스템에서도 적용할 수 있도록 만든 것이 이번 연구의 핵심입니다.
이러한 것들을 궁극적으로 유도하는 메커니즘을 저희들이 후성 유전학적인 측면에서 확인을 하고 밝히게 되었는데요. 그렇게 규명된 결과를 보게 되면은 단단한 조직 쪽에서는 얍이라고 하는 단백질이 세포 내로 유입이 되고 세포 핵으로 유입이 되고 그렇게 유입된 얍이라는 단백질에 의해서 다양한 후성 유전학적 DNA라고 하는 어떤 레벨에서의 메틸레이션을 조절하는 그런 효소들이 발현을 높이게 되고 그것들에 의해서 얍이라고 하는 단백질이 다시 많이 만들어지게 되는 파지티브 룹을 가지는 그런 굉장히 어떤 악성화를 계속적으로 지속하는 형태로 세포들이 사이클을 하게 되고요. 물렁한 조직에서는 실제로 얍이라고 하는 단백질은 유입되지 않고 그 유입되지 않은 얍에 의해서 그런 효소들은 만들어지지 않고 결국적으로 얍이라고 하는 것들의 발현이 떨어지게 되어서 더 이상 유입될 수 있는 얍 단백질도 불충분해지는 그런 어떤 굉장히 얍의 활성화가 아주 떨어져 있는 그런 상태의 암세포들로 바뀌게 되는 것을 저희들이 확인을 했습니다.
저희 연구에서는 기존의 그런 세포의 노화에 관련된 여러 분자생물학 실험 결과들을 집대성해내고 또 저희가 자체적으로 인간의 진피 소미화 세포를 대상으로 노화 과정에 따른 세포 내 여러 단백질의 인산화 과정들을 추적하면서 측정해낸 데이터를 기반으로 저희가 수학 모델을 개발하고 이 수학 모델들이 약 실제 그 측정된 실험 데이터를 재현해낼 수 있는지 약 5천여 개의 앙상블 불리한 네트워크 모델을 구축하여 대규모 컴퓨터 시뮬레이션 분석을 통해 그 노화 발생의 메커니즘의 가장 핵심적인 조절 회로가 무엇인지를 탐색하였습니다. 그 결과 저희들은 PDK1이라는 단백질을 중심으로 한 소위 양성 피드백 회로가 이러한 노화세포 상태를 안정적으로 유지하고 있는 가장 핵심적인 조절 회로라는 것을 밝혀내게 되었고 이러한 PDK1을 억제하면 그 하단에 엠토르와 NF-카파비와 같은 신호를 차단함으로써 결과적으로 노화에 이른 세포 상태를 다시 안전하게 젊고 건강한 분열을 할 수 있는 세포 상태로 되돌릴 수 있다는 것을 세계 최초로 밝혀내게 되었습니다.
금속 원자가 하나씩 떨어져서 존재하는 경우를 단일 원자 구조라고 부르고, 금속 원자가 대여섯 개 이상이 같이 모여서 존재하는 그러한 구조를 앙상블 구조라고 부릅니다. 표면 반응은 실제로 그 단일 원자 구조냐 아니면 앙상블 구조냐에 따라서 실제로 반응이 일어나는 그 방식이 굉장히 크게 달라질 수 있습니다. 저희가 이제 이번 연구에서 보였던 것도 단일 원자 구조와 앙상블 구조는 굉장히 반응이 일어나는 양식이 달라질 수 있다라는 것을 보인 연구가 되겠고요. 또한 뿐만 아니라 표면에 드러나 있는 원자의 전자가 굉장히 부족한 산화 상태일 경우, 아니면 전자가 굉장히 많이 모여있는 환원 상태일 경우에 그 표면에서 일어나는 그러한 그 반응물이 얼마나 세게 흡착을 하느냐에 이 흡착 세기가 달라지기 때문에 반응성에 있어서, 선택성에 있어서, 또한 내구성에 있어서 굉장히 크게 달라질 수 있습니다. 그래서 저희는 이러한 금속 원자 촉매의 배열 구조 및 전자 구조를 제어함으로써 반응에 있어서 활성 및 내구성을 극대화시키는 연구를 수행하였습니다.
본 연구는 중환자도 치료할 수 있는 고급 의료시설을 갖춘 음압격리시설을 단기간에 구축하고 효과적으로 이송 보관할 수 있는 음압병동 시스템을 개발한 사례입니다. 음압병동의 기본적인 요구사항인 기능성, 경제성, 효율성을 충족시킬 뿐만 아니라 사용 편의성과 독창성, 감성적 만족감까지 충족시키는 것을 목표로 했습니다. 저희가 개발한 시스템의 가장 큰 특징은 양음압 공조 복합기인 음압 프레임을 중심으로 현장 조립 모듈형 구조를 차용하고 있다는 점입니다. 음압 프레임은 인접한 두 공간을 안전하고 효과적으로 음압화할 수 있는 새로운 장치입니다. 이 프레임을 에어텐트 기능 패널과 조합해서 보관이 용이하고 이송 및 확장이 가능하며 다목적으로 재활용할 수 있는 음압병동 모듈을 구축하는 것이 핵심적인 아이디어입니다.
이 동영상은 우리 대학 홈페이지에 들어가
This video can be viewed on our university's website at any time. Next, we will have the picture taking with all the award prize winners. We want to ask all the award winners to be on the stage.
다음 순서는 연구대상 수상 교수님의 강연이
Next, we will
있겠습니다.
have the lectures
전기및
by
전자과학부
our
김문철
prize winners. We will
교수님께서
first
나오셔서
hear from
강연해
Professor
주시겠습니다.
Kim Moon-chul, the grand prize winner.
예, 안녕하십니까?
Good morning, all.
전기 및 전자공학부 김문철
I am
교수입니다.
from the School of Electrical
먼저
Engineering,
이렇게 큰
Professor Kim
상을
Moon-chul.
받게 해주셔서
First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to you all for giving me such a grand prize. We have many departments and research areas within KAIST, and there are excellent professors with excellent achievements. And it is an extreme gratitude for me to be able to receive this grand prize. And I want to thank everyone who are passionate with a lot of curiosity. And during research, many students carry out a lot of discussions. Therefore, I want to express my gratitude to all the graduates of our research lab who have made many discussions and who have helped me out a lot. I think thanks to them all, I was able to get this grand prize. I also want to thank the current students as well, on top of the graduates. I have prepared a simple presentation about the research that we are carrying out at our lab. I'll be introducing our lab shortly, and then I'll be explaining about the contents of our research. Within our research lab, we are focusing on video and image computing. Usually, we try to focus on improving resolution of our video, video compression, and video recovery. As you can see here, as for the research itself, I think I probably got this grand prize for the following reason. I think it might be because there were a lot of achievements in research and commercialization, and I tried to think back about where it may have come from. In the middle of 2000s, there was an international standardization about video compression. It was related to ISOIC, and this was related to the ISO and IEC. And as for the result, if you were to write paper, I think it may have only remained as research paper only. However, we helped out so that it could be selected as an internationally standardized technology, and we have made many efforts in that regards. And I think that was what contributed to me getting the grand prize. And when you are using the smartphones, this is all applied as well. So this is the HEVC high video recording, and there is also the UHV international standard as well. And we have 37 patents that was actually registered with the university, and there are critical patents. And there are also those that were recently standardized. It was for the BBC or H.266. And this is the next generation video compression coding. And we also have critical patents. And we are also making efforts to make sure that those patents are selected as the critical ones. And we also made sure to be able to commercialize this. And there were many efforts to improve this commercialization. And I think these efforts were recognized. First of all, this is the ultra high quality image and video imaging. For the ultra high quality video, it means that there are a lot of pixels, and when there are a lot of pixels, it becomes the expression of the signals in the video. And when we say full HD, And when we say full HD, we are actually starting our 4K UHD broadcasting, and for 8K,
TV가 현재 지금 시장에 이제 판매가 되고 있는
we have TVs being sold in the market.
해상도가 증가되고 있는데
And we can see that the resolution of our video is improving greatly. However, despite all that, our digital broadcasting is still remaining at the full HD level. And as for the legacies, it is still remaining at the previous forms of full HD. And for these contents, we can see that TV is excellent and it can be able to display 4K or even 8K UHD. However, the video itself is not at an ultra high quality. Therefore, we want to convert the low quality image and video into ultra high quality ones so that we can actually improve user experience and maximize it, and that is becoming the center of research. And in the video, when we talk about quality, we not only look at a lot of pixels. When we increase the resolution, we have to make sure that there is a high frame rate per second, and only so we'll be able to express what we want. However, when there is a high resolution and on top of that with high frame rate, that will increase the size of the file itself. And that means that we have to have extreme compression. In the past, for the displays and display devices, there were restrictions in expressing the color itself. However, our devices are improving these days, and we are able to express the colors at a better way. And we normally use 8-bit videos. However, we can actually increase the bit depths to become 10 to 16 bits as well, and that is what we need for the future. Therefore, when we increase the spatial resolution, we are able to show deeper details. That's why we feel that it is of a better quality. And when resolution improves, when we look from the front, our angle of view is usually at around 130 degrees. However, when we actually fill out our view through video, we may feel as if we are actually there, and therefore this improves the realism. In a big display, if we can fill it up fully, that is the best way. Therefore, we want to ensure the use of ultra high resolution in order to improve satisfaction. When you see the left-hand side, that is our way of watching a small video on a small screen. So when we are sitting in front of a TV with ultra high resolution, it makes you feel as if you're there on site. It makes it more realistic. Therefore, it gives that effect. And in the past, for the TVs that you were watching then, so we call this the color gamut here. Normally, we have the light spectrum of around 380 to 700 nanometer, and that is what we can recognize within ourselves. And in the past, the color that could be expressed was limited to that white triangle in the middle. However, a human can actually feel and this whole array of colors. So there is a limit. So when we look at something from a TV and when we actually go to the site, there is a difference. And this picture is one of the reasons why we have a difference, and we feel that difference. However, with the improvement and advancement of technology, there has been a better way to express the color with a wider color gamut in our cameras and videos. And thus, we can actually express green as green and blue as blue and red as red, as we can see from the orange triangle on the outside of the white triangle. And for the expression of the brightness, we call it contrast. And for the past camera sensors and display sensors, it used SDR, the standard dynamic range, or LDR, the low dynamic range. That was a very narrow range. However, nowadays we have HDR, high dynamic range TVs, and these are also being applied to cameras and smartphones, and this technology is actually commercialized. However, in the past, because color gamut was not properly expressed, we can see that it's very dark and it's shown as white instead of the actual colors. However, with HDR, we can have a better contrast of darkness and brightness, and that is why it is more realistic. And for the ultra high resolution content, we also have to talk about frame rate, about how many frame rates we can have per second. And depending on that, this would differ. So we have these bouncing balls. And for this one that is expressed at 120, it has a higher frame rate. That is why it is smoother than the ones on the left. And when we look at and when we watch the TV as well, when we are bouncing this ball, if we have a low frame rate, when the camera aperture is open, during the time that it is opened up, the moving ball is integrated as a sensor. That's why you will see this blurred image that you see with the 15 on the left. Therefore, we want to be able to increase the frame rate and secure as many video as possible per second for our video to become smooth. So we have to be able to secure that to get the ultra high quality video and contents. However, right now, there are those in the low dynamic range or those with low quality. So for those videos, they are within this inside pentagon on the inside. And if we can express it well for the video pressing and be able to widen our area, we will be able to cover a wider color gamut with higher bit depths, with higher frame rate. That will be the depending factor for us making a better quality video. When we are imaging a video, there is the light source, and once it is shown on an object, light is reflected, and through a camera lens, light is collected, and it will go into the CCD in the middle. And this is expressed through a simple mathematical model. And when we do that, G is the object that we are taking a picture of through the camera. And for H, that is the process of light reflecting from the object and being collected back into the camera. And for F, that is a true object, a really clean, pure one. And through H, it will be degraded and there will be noise that is put on top to get the actual video that we see. In the past, F was the issue for us recovering the video itself, and through G, we had to get F that was unknown. And how well we can find F was the important factor for us creating a high quality video. And this was also related to us making a low quality video into the super resolution one and increasing the size of it. So it was increasing the size of the video, increasing the frame rate, and also getting a wider gamut and increasing from low dynamic range to a higher dynamic range. And that is all related to us discovering this F. In the past, we made a lot of attempts with mathematical models. However, it made everything complex, and therefore there was a limitation in the quality of our video. At the beginning, we used deep learning technology, and there are research being carried out using deep learning technology now. And if you see here, the small video that you see on the left is transferred into a high resolution one using deep learning technology. In our labs, we carried out a lot of research in this area. Students made a lot of efforts, and through that, we are making good achievements. So there is the CVPR conference, and this is a top conference in terms of computer imaging, and we were able to have a presentation there as well. And if you see on the bottom side, there are the research results, and when we see and compare it against others, we can see that our resolution is better than that of other results. Therefore, we were able to express super resolution here. As I explained before, normally, if you see what is on the left-hand side, there is this color bar. And that is the spectrum of color that our human eye can recognize. And for the bigger brightness on the right-hand side, that is showing the range of contrast. And through the camera lens, the spectrum is decreased. And it goes through post-processing and mastering, and it is compressed. And this causes a degradation. And what we see is only around this much. Therefore, when we are watching TV, we wonder why there is a difference against the real thing, and this is all contributing to that. However, there has been an improvement and advancement in the display technology. Therefore, when we get this legacy content, we will be able to convert it to a high dynamic range one. And there are research being carried out to convert that. In the same manner, for super resolution and high dynamic range, we are trying to research it by integrating the two. And we were the first to do so. And we were able to have a verbal presentation where we presented our findings in the computer conference. Compared to the methods that we employed in the past, if we were to use deep learning technology, the contrast is much higher. And even if you look at the shadow here, this is brightly saturated. However, in this picture, the contrast between the brightness and darkness is much better expressed. This was all possible thanks to the deep learning architecture, and we were able to discover this in our lab. This is also of a similar method. It is related to in-painting. As you can see here, there is an omission in this video in the middle. So there are many missing parts. However, even so, through deep learning, we will be able to have the AI algorithm actually fill that holes in the middle. Through this, we can recover our videos. Similarly, there are satellite images. We are also researching on improving the resolution of our satellite images. For satellite images, we cannot really take a picture of a high resolution image or video through a satellite. It comes in as this black and white image, as you can see on the left-hand side. So when we try to get it as a black and white versus that of a color one, there is an incredible difference in its size. However, for us to get the color, we have to have this panchromatic image, and this is all related to the angle of the camera itself. So we want to be able to have this detail of this black and white, plus the color from the panchromatic image. So we were able to combine it to come up with this high-resolution picture that you see on the right-hand side, and this was all thanks to the deep learning technology as well. And this was also presented at a top computer vision conference. And compared to the previous techniques, when we were to look through the satellite, in between this color black, in between this panchromatic image and this black and white image, there are some differences, and when there are moving cars, we can see that there is a skew in the colored image as versus as the blurred image. And we try to align that, and that was also applying deep learning technology. And I think you probably experience this a lot. When we are taking a video, it is not stabilized, and we can see that there is a blurring. When the aperture is open, if we were to shake the camera around, the focal point of the camera follows the actual target, and it will receive the sensor, and it is integrated and converged. That's why it causes a blurring image. And to clean that up, we call this de-blurring. As such, AI technology is contributing to this as well. This not only improves the quality of the content, but it can also be helpful in criminal research or when we are trying to discover evidence. It can be used in many different ways. Professor Yoo Hae-jun talked about generative adverse network using hardware. So he showed great achievements there. And using algorithm, we can make use of that technology to get rid of the haze in our videos. We can get rid of the fogs in a foggy image. By doing so, we are able to recover that video, and this is using deep learning. In a situation as autonomous vehicles, when there is a fog, we can actually use this dehazing technology to be able to distinguish lanes and the signage on the road. However, when it is really hazy, the achievement or the performance of the autonomous vehicle drops. Therefore, by using this dehazing technology, we will be able to contribute to improving the autonomous driving technology. This is the actual case of dehazing using deep learning. It was a very foggy day, but we were able to get rid of the fog. It's the same on a rainy day. On the videos of heavy rains, using deep learning technology, we were able to get rid of the rain, and we were able to recover the photo to one that seemed as if it was a very bright sunny day. As you can see here, it was a heavy rain, but we applied the deep learning network that was trained, and we were able to get rid of the raindrops, and we were also able to apply dehazing at the same time. And for natural image, when we are converting it to animation, we also use this generative adversarial network called GAN. And when we are converting this natural image to an animation, this also depends on the style of the animation authors and also the illustrator that makes different animes depending on their styles. Therefore, we use it for the background, grass, and buildings. And when we are trying to draw a picture of the people, it can actually make it into an abstract form. And it can also increase the size of the eyes of a person. So we have to be able to transfer that in many different ways. Using GAN, we are using GAN only, and if we were to use the previous way, we cannot actually transfer it to the style that we want. Therefore, we use a newer form of GAN, and if we were to train it, then we can actually transfer the natural image to an animation in a very smooth way. This is an example. On the left-hand side, we have a natural image that we took using a camera. And once we are transferring this to what we have researched on, we can see that it turns into an animation cartoon-like one.
예, 아까 우리가 카이스트 연구 대표 연구 10선에서 이제
So of the top 10 KAIST research achievements, we have seen many basic research and also source technology. And there were presentations made by many different professors. In our lab, we are working on research that is close to commercialization. Therefore, we work very closely to the industry, and thus we have some achievements made in terms of technical commercialization and the recurring of technical fees as well. And I think that is why I received this grand prize. For Korea to have international competitiveness that it already has in terms of home appliances, I believe that we can use this technology as the core technology. Therefore, when we are researching this, we are registering a lot of patents. Through these, we are trying to predict technology in advance, and we want to make sure that we are able to secure patents in advance so that it can become the next generation patents. And we are trying to ensure the utilization of our research achievements, and that was the focus of our research until now. I will now end my presentation. Thank you. Do you have any questions? If you have any questions, I'll make sure to answer them now. If not, then thank you. Thank you, Professor Kim Moon-chul. Next, we will have the research prize winner from School of Electrical Engineering, Professor Park In-chul.
Hello, I am Park In-chul from the School of Electrical Engineering. And it's a great honor to be here. And I'd like to thank you for choosing me for the award and the lecture. But I know that in the future there will be even greater professors and even greater research achievements to be shared on this stage. So I usually work with hardware. And recently I am also doing work regarding AI accelerators, so I would like to explain to you my work. And also there are some stories that I would like to tell. So I think you all know what neural networks are. I think half the researchers in the world are doing work related to AI. So actually neural networks are very simple. So if you look at it from the side of hardware, so we take information for the synapses, and then it is turned, we create the sum of it, and then we receive an output. So it's a very simple sum and multiplication. The problem is that there are so many equations like this. So in the very beginning, neural networks were very simple, but now we have deep neural network, and we have a network with hundreds of hidden layers. And there are so many algorithms. You can see many various applications using deep neural networks. But the problem of that is that we have so many apps, but how will we actually use it in real life? So we are starting at the very bottom. We are looking at creating the neural network processing hardware platform, and then we want to have the appropriate software on top of that. So and ultimately making the application. So that's the goal of our research. So we have designed these AI chips. And I've only been given a few minutes for my lecture, so I won't really go into detail, but there's an enormous amount of work that goes into making one chip. And it's very hard to actually make them work and to make them use them in real life. So for the past 2 years, we've uploaded our work on YouTube as well. So this is our real-time objection detection. So we have a head on the car, and you can see the display. So the car display is looking at the objects in front of it in real time. So about 2 years ago, we uploaded this on YouTube, and many people left comments asking if this was really actually possible. So yes, this is actually something that was possible. So this is, as you can see on the screen, this is what our research is about. And going into the details, so we are also doing some research on the structure of AI processors. And if you go further into neural networks, you can see there is a convolution exploration. And we want to find the best model for data flow and proposed structures. And in convolutions, there are shallow layers and deep layers. And the amount of features is different. So we also want to figure out the most efficient method for that. And something that's very interesting is network pruning. So if you look at the connection of synapses, you can see an enormous increase in synapses as a child grows, and then so this is called pruning in terms of biology. And as I've told you before, what we call AI has so many multiplications. And according to our research, we could replace all the multiplication with additions. So this is a very foundational type of research that we are doing. So we are continuing this research, and my research achievements, I don't think is very important. And I think you can find all the information in my papers. I want to share with you some stories. So there was a battle between Isedol and AlphaGo in 2016. And I thought it was a long time ago, but it was only 5 years ago. And if you think of 2016, everyone thought the world would change. But then 5 years changed. And you look back and think about how AI changed our world, and there really isn't much change. We have an AI speaker, for example, and I wake up in the morning and then I ask the speaker what today's weather will be like. So, but I don't think that's what we may create AI for. So it made me look back on the work that I am doing. So looking deeper into the trends of implementations, it's all GPU-based and server-based. So there's not a lot we can do if it's GPU-centric and server-centric. But luckily, the researchers are trying to get out of the GPU-centric trend, and it is going more towards the ASIC-centric trend. And to actually realize the technologies, we are bringing all of that together. And I think the general trend we are going towards is the neuromorphic phase. So what should KAIST do? I think it's time for KAIST to create its own model. So the Mobile Eye is actually a company in Israel, and it was acquired by Intel in 2017. And it's a Hebrew university, and they got a budget of 1.7 trillion when it was acquired by Intel. So you would think, what kind of company is this? Is that Intel would pay so much money to acquire it? It's a company that does image processing. And its applications are used in self-driving cars.
프로세싱하는 거전 세계 모든 대학에 다 있는 이미지 프로세싱 하는데
So all universities in the world does image processing, but the difference in Mobile Eye is that they make the chips, and then
저 앞에 보여지는 조그만
they also make the hardware that uses the chips.
그래서 여러분들이 사용하는 거는 대부분의 자율주행
So if you look at the self-driving cars, they mostly use the solution, the Mobile Eye solution.
하드웨어가 아니라 알고리즘
So
하드웨어를 다 접목시키는
they have both the algorithm and the hardware.
만드는 게 진짜로
And I think to really make money, we need to do that also.
이 회사가 지금 뭘 하고 있는
So what is Mobile Eye doing now?
IQ라는 칩을 만들고
It's creating a chip called IQ.
최근에 나왔던 칩이 IQ5입니다.
So and then recently they created up to IQ5.
단계가 있는데요. 2단계, 3단계, 4단계.
So there
5단계가 되면
were
그래서
5 levels of IQ, and by the fifth phase,
단계 4, 5를 겨냥하는 칩입니다.
it really the goal is to use the algorithms created by Mobile Eye in that chip that goes in the car. And every time the IQ levels rise, you also see an enormous change in, so you can see a 25 tera operation per second. So it's not just about creating an algorithm, but it's also about building the hardware and creating the best software for that. And so by developing all of this, they are making the best solution. And so this is the global trend. And I realize that this is the kind of work we need to do to really do valuable work. So I think in the future, what KAIST should do is looking at these opportunities in systems. So it would be great if we could have like 10 startups like Mobile Eye that starts from KAIST. And if that happens, KAIST could become a global university. And my retirement is coming up, but I always wish for the best for KAIST. Thank you very much.
이번 순서는 연구상을 수상하신 신희철 교수님.
Next, we will have Professor Shinichar, and we will watch the video. So he was not able to participate today in person, therefore he has sent us a video. We will now watch the video together.
안녕하세요. 의과학대학원 신희철입니다.
Good morning, I am Shinichar,
COVID-19 면역 반응에 대해서
and I will
말씀드리겠습니다.
now talk about the immune responses to
1년 전에
COVID-19.
COVID-19 팬데믹이 시작된 후
A year
아직까지
ago,
해결되지
after
않은 현재 진행의
COVID-19
과제가
broke
남아
out,
있는데요.
this is the current situation. We are
이러한
not
문제가
able to overcome it
시작된
yet.
후 저 같은
After
바이러스
this
면역
pandemic,
학자들은 여기에 써 있는 것 같은 중요한 질문들을
we
던지게
talked
됐습니다.
about
제가
how we
한
can
편은
overcome it, and
있지
we asked ourselves
않았습니다만
these
이러한 새로운
questions.
바이러스에 감염된 후 우리 몸은 어떤 면역 반응을 보이고
So,
이것이 질병의
what should
경과에
be our
어떠한
immune
영향을
response
미치는지 이런
to
것들에
the
대해서 매우
viruses, and what are the
중요한
effects?
질문들입니다.
Therefore, these are very important questions.
저희 랩에서는 지난 1년 동안
In our lab, for the past year, we made efforts to answer these questions. Therefore, I would like to present to you our findings very briefly. First of all, what is an excessive immune response that is caused by a pandemic? In order to answer this, we have taken a look at both the mild form and the critical form of COVID-19, and on top of that, we have also taken a look at the critical influenzas.
가장 이제 널리 쓰이고 있는 싱글
Based on this,
기법이라는 이러한 기법을
we have applied this single-cell RNA sequencing that is widely used.
유전자 발현 양상을 보이고 있는
So we wanted to deep dive into the result that's are shown on our patients, and based on that, we have been able to reach these conclusions. So these are based on very unique cycle times. And when we say cycle time, we are converging it. However, we can actually see the details. Therefore, for the critically ill influenza, it is related to type 1 IFNs. And for the mild COVID-19, it is related to TNF and IL-1 beta.
이제 사망에까지도 이를 수 있는 중증 코비드-19
However, for the
같은
severe
경우는 이러한
COVID-19
TNF,
case,
타입 1 인터페론
it is related to
다 모든 것으로
TNF,
나타나면서
IL-1 beta,
어떤
and type
시너지즘을
1
나타내는
IFN.
작용을
So
통해서
these are
염증이
all
약화되는
shown. That means that they have a synergistic effect
이러한 논문을
to
내는
exacerbate the
저희
inflammation
연구그룹에서는
itself.
네이처 리뷰 이러한 타입 1
So this
인터페론
was
리스폰스가
published on Nature,
코비드-19 환자에서 어떠한 특성을 보이고
and we
있고
have
이런 것이
taken
왜
a look at
일어나는지
the
질병
interferon
경과에 어떠한
responses in
영향을 미치는지를
COVID-19
소개하는
and the
책이었고
implications for
이에 따라서
treatments.
환자들의 치료에는
Based
어떤
on that,
이러한
we
지식을
also
이용해야
wanted to see what
되는지에
impact it
대해서
could
글을
have
쓰게 되었습니다.
on the patient treatments.
그리고 그 후에는 저희가
Afterwards,
바이러스 감염 후 면역
we
반응은
looked
잘
at this
유발되는가라는
question.
질문에
So
대해서 답을
after the infection of the
이러한
virus,
그
what
결과의
should be
산물은
the
저희가
response in
올해
terms of
1월
immune
달에
system?
이뮤니티라는 저널에 게재를 하게
And
되었는데요.
this was published
이런 논문이
on
나오기까지
immunity
지난 1년
on
동안에
January of this year.
이 SARS-CoV-2
So for the
코비드-19
past year and a
바이러스에 대한
half,
T셀 리스폰스는
we have taken a look at the T cell response of COVID-19, and we have seen that it was exhausted.
저희가 이러한 것이 사실인지를 알아보기 위해서
In order to see if this is actually true or not, so that was the hypothesis, and in order to see if this hypothesis is true or not, we have used a very elaborate form of technique to observe it. And we have seen that it's not exactly exhausted, but it is specific to the functions, and it is very functional. So we have seen that the initial hypothesis may have been wrong. So once infection is recovered, then it could be a better one. Then how long does this memory immune response last for?
한국인 환자들을 10개월 동안 추적
So we have tracked the patients for 10 months. However, even after 10 months, we have seen that these are maintained.
그다음에 이렇게 잘 유발될 뿐만이 아니고
So it is not only maintained, but we have said that for stem cell-like memory, this we call TSCM, and this is developed. So once you get infected with COVID-19 and recover from this memory cell actually stays in your body for a prolonged time. So I have talked about the answers to these questions. So now I will talk about the current research that we are carrying out. So this was actually emphasized across the world, and surprisingly, even in a normal cell that is not exposed to the SARS-CoV-19, we have seen that there is a T cell response. So we believe that this is linked to a cross-linking with the past viruses. And if so, when there is a COVID-19 case, whether it be mild or severe, we will be able to see the effect and be able to predict it. So we now, in terms of the COVID-19, what is being emphasized now is vaccine. So we have seen a successful development of vaccine. However, there are variant forms. Therefore, even if we were to focus on T cells, we believe that we will be able to actually find vaccines that can deal with the variant forms as well. All of these research were thanks to the efforts made by all of our researchers in our lab. I will now end my presentation. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Professor Roh Jun-young from the Graduate School of Cultural Technology. Hello, thank you. I am happy to see you. I am Roh Jun-young from the Graduate School of CT. So thank you very much for, first of all, for giving me the Innovation Award. And I would like to share this pleasure with all of my students and the alumni from my lab who are working very hard and who have worked very hard for me. I would like to tell my students that I love them very much. So the direction of our research is to use our technology. So in the past, only professionals could create culture, but could create content. But now, normal people can create content, and the way that content is shared is very different from the past.
훨씬 더 몰입감 있게 볼 수 있을까? 이런 부분.
So we were thinking about how can we make the entire experience more immersive. For example, we talk a lot about artificial intelligence. And it's not just about the intelligence, but we also want to think about human creativity. So when it comes to creating content, people can also make use of their creativity through artificial intelligence. And the reason we need this kind of technology is, as you can see in the screen, when we create content, this is the kind of programs we need to create content. And there are so many menus and functions, and it's very difficult for normal people to use it. And so it's very hard to join and create content. So we want to make it very simpler so that everyone can make content. So as you can see here, if they can just make the sketch, and then they can make the animation move. So they just make the 2D sketch, and then they can make it run in 3D. So even people who are not professionals with these technologies can create content. And what's important here is that how can we make these movements just like a real human's movements? So we use the model productivity function. So we make sure that they move as similar to humans as possible, and that they keep their own balance. So, for example, if they have a soccer ball and dribble the soccer ball, we can create these kind of interactions and create games that has to do with sports. And going further on, we want to make the images even more human-like. So we use actual human motions. So it's not just movements, but also looking at because humans, we take the visual information that we get to move. So for example, this is an example of how we created the content so that the character uses visual information to catch the ball. And so this is content and creating faces. So for facial animations, it's very complicated, and we wanted to make it more accessible and easier. So, if they just find any point on the face and move it, and then that will be automatically calculated, and so anyone can make an animated face. So when we make a content, what's most important is that the emotion is delivered. So that has to do with how we set up the panel and how the characters move. So this is something that has to do with artistic sense, and also that is something difficult for general people to do. So what we do is we analyze the many movies that we have, and then we look at how the cameras are set and how the screen is shot. And so we can use this data to make it easier for people to create content. And there's a thing called basic morphing that's often used in making movies. But the difficulty in this is that it all has to be done manually. So for that also, we used AI so that the points between the two images would be morphed very simply. And another thing that we did is, so if anyone can create content, then we also want to improve the ways that content is shared. So for a more immersive experience in watching content, we created the Screen X, where 3 walls of the theater is used, and we are the first in the world to create this kind of screen. And for many countries, about 300 theaters are using this technology. And so if you want to have a wider screen, that also creates a change in how the content is created.
카메라 한 대로 상영된
So
촬영된 영상을 분석을 해서
we analyzed the movies that were shot with one camera, and then we expanded the image that it could be used for in Screen X. So because I don't have a lot of time, I tried to make my presentation as short as possible. So now the creators of content have shifted from professionals to general people. And also, when it comes to sharing the content, we want to maximize the immersive experience. So that is the technology that we are focusing on. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor No Jun-young. And next, we will hear from Professor Yoon Dong-gi from the Department of Chemistry.
Good morning. I am Professor Yoon Dong-gi from School of Chemistry. So this was done together with Professor Kim Hyung-soo from the School of Mechanical Engineering. However, since we could not present together, I decided to present. Unlike the senior professors that actually gave presentations prior to me, I will talk more about the basic research. So we have this coffee ring effect, and using this, how can we apply it to organic semiconductors? So we will see flexible display being used more in the future. So how can we improve organic semiconductor, and how can we have the organic semiconductor molecules respond to these and they could be utilized? No matter how good of a molecule we have, so no matter how good of a beads we have or diamonds, of course we could sell it. However, in order to raise the value of it, we have to make sure that they are tied together to become treasure. So no matter how good of a molecule we have to make sure that we are utilizing it and we are controlling for it to be valuable. And I will now present about that. So as you can see on the screen, this is a normal UV semiconductor molecule, and this is like a coin, and these are stacked together to become a stick. So we have this TCB on the left hand side. So for this trichlorine benzene, if you were to use it as a solution, how can we have these pillars of molecules be well utilized? So I researched on this together with Professor Kim Hyung-soo. The key principle is the coffee ring effect. As you all know, when you drink coffee, when there is a stain on the coffee cup, then you can see this coffee ring shown on the table itself. However, when the volume per unit area is low, that means that increases the speed of evaporation, and therefore, as you can see here, you see the particles being sent out to the edges and it evaporates, and that is why we have this coffee ring effect. However, if we use long particles instead of fine ones, we will be able to suppress this coffee ring effect, as you can see on the left hand side. And it not only suppresses it, but it also focuses on how we can actually culture these particles, and that is the focus of this research. So if we think about it as this particle or this pillar, you can think of it this rolling the barrel, as you can see on the left hand side. If you were to compare this to the pencil, so if you were to have this short axis spinning for the pencil and the long axis direction for the fiber on the fan, there is a difference. So for this barrel itself, it will be hard to actually roll it if you were to do it in the y-axis instead of the x-axis, and that would also be the case for the fiber on the fans. However, for the pencil, when you are taking an exam and you don't know the answer, you sort of like roll it and you try to find answer through that, and that will be the direction that you're rolling. And if you have millions of pencils, you sort of scratch your pencil on it and you can see the direction, and based on that principle, we get this pillar structure for the organic semiconductor. And if you were to actually quickly pull it or slowly pull it, there is this speed. And we can actually see that it actually moves in a vertical or a horizontal direction based on that. And through discussions with Professor Kim Hyung-soo, we decided to think about it a little further.
분자들 간에 서로 인터랙션
among these molecules, when there is an interaction between them,
당겨주는 경우에
or when we are pulling them, there is a competition. And through that, we can see what sort of a horizontal or vertical orientation could be. This is a PDMS, and for this highly used molecule, it goes through the solvent. However, the organic semiconductor cannot go through it. And based on that, when there is a diffusion towards the macromolecule, then there will be particles, and this columnar force would move, and we can actually see it in the PDMS mold that is made up of macromolecules. And here we actually use a very simple microscope like the fluoroscope. And if you look on the left-hand side, there is this column structure, and when it is vertical to the channel, it is shown as blue, and when it is horizontal to the channel, it shows as yellow. And that was shown, and that was observed in real time. And we have observed two different widths of 5 micrometer and 10 micrometer, and these don't seem too different in terms of the thickness. However, as you can see on the bottom, there was a great difference in terms of speed. It could be as much as threefold, and we could see that it was stacked as different layers. And the higher the speed, the faster the diffusion was. Therefore, we could see that it could actually be embedded on the wall. And when we have 10 micro, as you can see on the right-hand side, the column structure is oriented in the same manner as channel, and we could see it with a single mold. Based on this flow, we were able to actually determine how we could orient the pencil itself, and through that we were able to apply it to the organic semiconductor as well. And together with Professor Kim Hyung-soo, we carried out a lot of discussions and had reaped successful results. So when the channel is narrow, the column structure is vertically oriented in terms of the channel orientation, and when it is 10 micrometer, it is in the direction of the channel itself. So through this coffee ring effect, we applied the channel itself to see what the effect was. So coffee ring may seem useless, however, when we are talking about this multi-directional organic semiconductor, it actually helped out in making this multi-digit device, and we believe that it could be helpful in the future. So a lot of our senior professors also mentioned this. It could not have been possible without the help of our students. So we have Dr. Moon Jong-han and our PhD student Chung-Gyu Kim, who contributed greatly to this research. Thank you for listening. Next, we have Professor Nam Joo-han, who received the International Joint Research Award.
Hello, I am Cho Byung-kwan from the Department of Biological Sciences, and it is an honor to be here. And this is a joint research that I did with universities outside of Korea. So the many students in my lab and in overseas labs were very outstanding, and you can make great achievements. So what I want to talk about today is a hot topic, which is synthetic biology. So we want to make many medicinal biochemicals by using synthetic biology. So as we all know, penicillin, the antibiotic penicillin, has saved so many lives. And in World War II, it changed the outcourse of World War II. And this simple antibiotic called penicillin has saved 200 million people. And penicillin is still used to this day. So we wanted to make many antibiotics and various antibiotics, and it is clear that having antibiotics will help humans. And but as you can see on the bottom, we also have some issues. So because we have great antibiotics, because we use too many antibiotics, that has led to the creation of superbacteria bacteria. And so, we are really not happy to see the advent of superbacteria. And superbacteria, all of the antibiotics that humanity has created until now does not work to fight these superbacteria. And until now, we haven't found many antibiotics that work to fight the superbacteria. So over the many past years, we have used many antibiotics. But over the past 30 years, we really haven't created any new antibiotics. So I think part of that is that because there weren't a lot of research that was done, but there was also a lot of social economic issues. But over the past 30 years, we've only been able to mention about 11 potential drugs. So after 2010, we really didn't have had any big discoveries in antibiotics. So we want to use synthetic biology to create new medicinal drugs. So this looks like a blanket, but it's not a blanket. It is a thing called axiomyces, and it is something on which we can create the antibiotics. And then the little things that look like droplets are not droplets. So this is used in most medicinal natural compounds. And as you can see on the bottom left, after you get a organ transplant, there is something that you need to take. You need to take immunosuppressants. And immunosuppressants are also made by the actinomyces. So it seems very great, but actually it is not easy to make these kind of antibiotics or anti-cancers or immunosuppressants because there are so many microorganisms, and for most bacteria, there is a too high level of GC. So we need to use gene engineering to create the bacteria that we need, but it's very difficult to do that. And it is an unusual complex developmental cycle like fungi. So the research regarding this is very difficult, but it is true that this is a microorganism that is very helpful to humans. So everything you see here are the antibiotics gene clusters. And it's very beautiful if you look at them. And they all have different colors. And the reason for the colors means that they have different effects. So we are studying these many different actinomyces, and we are looking into the effects that they can have. So it's very meaningful research. And also we have about 30 antibiotics gene clusters. So if we study about 100 actinomyces, we can come up with about 30 antibiotic gene clusters. And so with one, we did gene sequencing, and we could find 30 gene clusters that could lead to the creation of antibiotics. So we want to study 100 or 1,000 actinomyces. But there is a problem with this. The thing is that the myces, how do we make them into antibiotics? We need a lot of actinomyces to create the antibiotics, but we don't know when the actinomyces are created. And in our research, we realized that the actinomyces are created when they interact with various environmental situations. So that could be temperature or moisture and their interaction with other microorganisms. But how can we know all of these different variables and circumstances? So when we brought them to the lab, and we tried to nurture the Actiomyces, but we could not create the same substances. And so we would say that the Actiomyces is silent in a lab, and because we don't know what kind of environmental situation is needed for the Actiomyces to react and create substances. And so basically, if it doesn't have any environmental stress, it does not create the genes. So one of the things that we do with the Actiomyces is in half of the petri dish, we have a pure culture, and on the other half, we have the co-culture. But the Actiomyces doesn't want the other side to come to it, so it starts to create antibiotics. So you can see the blue line, and the thicker the blue line is, the microorganisms cannot grow because that acts as an antibiotic. So it's protecting itself. So what kind of mechanism is behind this? So we did a lot of research, and we realized that they're fighting over something very similar. The thing they're fighting over is iron. So because one part takes more of the iron, so then the Actiomyces creates the antibiotics so that they don't no longer lose the iron. So when there are 100 or 1,000 Actiomyces, we don't know how it will react in different situations and what kind of antibiotics it will create. So we did find out the mechanism, but we did also bump into a very severe issue. So what we have chosen to solve these problems is the gene scissors. So we want to use the gene clusters and just cut out the part that we want to use, and then think about where we want to put that. And we needed very clean microorganisms that wouldn't create its own antibiotics. So we would create a very silent situation and then put the actinohordin in that. And because it is put in a clean environment, the genes that are cut, we can see how it reacts in that situation. But then we also want to think about how do we activate the actinohordin. So the next thing we decided to do was to use the artificial gene switch, so that we would make the actinohordin react when we turn on the switch. So I didn't really major in electrical engineering, but we know what a switch is and how it works. So we have an artificial gene switch, and then it can be turned, and if it can be turned on or off when I want. So as you can see at the bottom, when we turn on the switch, the actinohordin would create the antibiotics, and you can see that in the change of the colors. And the color is changing because of antibiotics. So as you can see here, we don't know when the gene cluster activates or deactivates, but there are some ways that we can manipulate it. So even if there are 30,000 types of clusters, we can study how the molecules work. So we have worked together with Professor Bernard Olpassen at UCSD and Professor Tilman Weber in DTU. And Professor Weber has done a great job in creating the software to find the gene clusters. So this research, we got support from a large pharmaceutical company called Novo Nordisk. And who I am most proud of is my students, and I believe they are even smarter than me, and they have done so much great work. So I would like to conclude my presentation here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor. Next, we will hear from Professor Nam Ju-han.
네, 안녕하십니까. 문화기술대학원 남주환입니다. 먼저
Hello everyone, I am
국제
Nam Ju-han from
공동연구원을
Graduate
지정해
School
주셔서
of Culture Technology. First of all,
크게
thank you for
생각을
giving me
합니다.
such a big prize, and I am very
지금
pleased that I was able
소개하는
to
대규모
receive
음악
it.
감상에 있어서 효과적인
Now I
차원
want to talk
표현학습에
about
대한
the
내용이고요.
multi-dimensional
어도비
representation
리서치와
learning
같이
for music
공동
similarity.
연구를 수행하는 것입니다.
I researched on this together with Adobe.
네, 우선 제 연구실 소개를 간단히
I
드리면요.
want to introduce my lab
저희는
first briefly.
문화기술대학원의 뮤직 앤 오디오 컴퓨팅 랩
So we have a music and audio computing lab within the Graduate School of Culture Technology, and I have 12 PhD and 6 master students helping me out with many different scientific research related to music.
현재 연구의 목표는 뮤지컬리
The current research direction is musically intelligent machine. It is about hearing sounds and music and being able to express it as a music code or a musical script that could be understood by people. So we are trying to make a musically intelligent machine based on that. If I can express the background, so in the current music industry, we are seeing a transition to streaming for media. We have a lot of musics being issued and being consumed, but the cycle is very short, and the number of songs online is huge as well. So representatively, we have Spotify, which is a music service overseas, and we have 60 million tracks, and we have around 40K new tracks that are being launched per day, and we also have other remix and cover versions of different songs as well. And since we have so many songs online, there are some issues when we are trying to search for music, and it is actually becoming more and more important. And we can actually use algorithm to find or recommend music. And one way is to actually analyze the music itself and find the characteristic and make the recommendation based on the similarity of these characteristics. And in order to do so, we will need metadata or user data, and we can actually overcome the lack of these. And it is actually not biased by popularity, so these are the strengths. Right now, we are using deep learning, and we have actually heard about deep learning in a lot of our other presentations as well. And in music as well, we are learning deep learning for automatic training. There are many different neural networks that are being used on top of learning methods. And we are trying to find the characteristics that are in a similar embedding space, and we are trying to train it based on that. However, for this, we can actually find out about the general similarity, but we don't know how they are similar. When two music or songs are similar, we can think about it in many different ways. They could be using similar instruments, or they may have similar genre, or they could have similar tempos or moods. And when we are training with neural network, if many of these characteristics are separated, we'll be able to find out how these two music are similar in an easier way. Therefore, we propose this conditional similarity network so that we could separate this embedded space based on many different characteristics. And we also employ this metric learning so that we can generate data based on many different ways, such as drawing, mood, instrument, tempo that I just mentioned before. Through this, we can focus on a specific area of music. And this is the result. There's this female vocalist that is shown in blue, and the instrumental that is shown in red. So these are two different labels. As you can see on the left-hand side, if we were to use all of the dimensions in the space, it may be mixed. However, if we were to only use the instrument subdimension, we can see a better separation. And this is for the tempo dimension. If you were to separate out the tempo subdimension, with the increase in the tempo, music will be moving in a seamless way, very smoothly. So we can see the training for the tempo in a multi-dimensional way. So based on that, we have provided a music query, and we saw how these music were searched together. So let me play it for you. So when we have jazz being searched, we can see similar jazz music being searched out.
On a hill far, I can't stay here. We waded through the water to the.
These are publications that were derived from this research. So this research was done by one of my graduate students, Jong-Pil Lee, and we also had 3 Adobe researchers joining us. Thank you. So we now have the last lecture from our awardees. We have Professor Bang Moo-hyun from School of Chemistry.
Hello. So first of all, I am honored to receive such an enormous prize. And it's almost lunch, so I will try to make this as simple as possible. And I want to share with you the work that we are doing in our lab. So before I begin, so I feel like I don't really do all the work. It's all my students who do such great work in my lab. And as working as a professor, there are so many people who have helped me. And so I just wanted to write their names. So what I wanted to share today is very easy. So people who don't major in chemistry think that it's very difficult, but I think that the work that I am doing is something that even high school students or middle school students can understand. So as you can see here, the man in the picture is Lewis Hammett. And he worked in the Columbia University in 1937. And before his work started, when he started his work, what we knew from chemistry is that there are molecules, and then we look at the reactions to the molecules or the properties or the chemical properties of the molecules, and then we wanted to tune those properties. And so what we use the most is the Hammett parameters. So I think this is something that we learn in high school or middle school. So we learn a lot of things like, so if you add something to a molecule and then you could change the electrolyte density, and then that changes the properties of the molecule. Or for example, if you add something on to the molecule, then the electrons will push each other, and so the electrodensity of the molecule goes up, and then we will have a different reaction. So in chemistry, every day, in whatever class of chemistry,
화학가들이
you
제일 많이 하는 일이
one of the things that chemists do the most is create molecules. And the reason we make so many molecules is because we want to look at their reaction speed or their chemical properties, and you want to change those things. So this is something that I thought about with my students. So we are looking at each molecule, and we are trying to look at the reaction speed of each separate molecule. And you look at the world, there are people who are doing AI and such great work. And other research, it all seems so fancy. And then you see it even on TV. But in chemistry, it seems that we were just doing things that people were doing 100 years ago. So what we wanted to do was could we find an easier way to look at the electroinductive effects? So we want to look at the catalyst reaction, and there are a lot of functions that are being used to evaluate the electroinductive effect. So instead of making the molecules one by one, as I said before, how about looking at how we can push or pull the molecule? So an electron is an electron. And so if you want to regulate the reaction, instead of making each molecule, let's use the reactive molecule and then create it into a covalent bond. So just put it on a metallic surface, and then we give an electric shock to the metallic surface, and then we can see what kind of how the molecules react, and then we will no longer have to make each molecule. So it seems, if we make 20 molecules and we want to look at all of the reactions, then it's so much work, and no one wants to do that. So if our new theory could work, then we don't have to do that laborious kind of don't have to go through that laborious kind of procedure. So instead of looking at each molecule and creating each molecule, we want to immobilize the parent molecules on an electrode. So we no longer have to make each individual electrode. So this idea is great, but it worked very well. So we decided to call this effect the electroinductive effect. So these two students, I can see on the top, they have done the research. So what we wanted to test is, so then we put the molecule on the electrode, and then what we used was gold, because that's the easiest way. And once we attach it to the gold plate, so what we tested was we just used Scotch tape to add the molecule onto the gold film. And so we looked at the reactions of the electrons. And so we want to get the same results that Helmut got 100 years ago, but using a different method. And one of the big reactions was saponification. And also this is something that we learn in high school. So when there's an ester, so when we have a basic solution, there's then a saponification takes place, and it is shown that the base catalyzed saponification of benzoic ester can be shut down completely by applying a negative voltage and accelerated by using a positive voltage. So, we had the Hammer-Oat theory that was made 100 years ago, but now we have realized when we put the molecules on a gold film and then we applying a voltage of electronics, we can see the results and how the molecules move. So I talked to Professor Han Sang-ho, who was in the next office, and I asked him with my research. So he helped me a lot with the work that we with Raman spectroscopy. So the Raman spectroscopy is giving a vibration to the molecules, and we just need to look at the vibrations. So we did the research and the experiments. And you can see here when there's nothing done, we put the basic solution and we give it about a day, and then we could see that it disappears in about a day. But if we give it about 25 volts, then the reaction is even faster. It takes about 2 or 3 times for it to disappear. The most remarkable thing is that we use the ester and we want to break the basic solution. So through this research, we have learned that the basic ester solution does not break even after this kind of experiments. So one of the things that we use in studying molecules is what kind of reactions will come out, and for that we use the PD catalysis Gimiara cross-coupling. And so this is one of the majorly known coupling known in chemistry. And so because of the time delay, I can't go too much into details, but we can use the electrons to measure the response of the molecules. And so we are the first in the world to find the DCC coupling of 3 MPa. So one of the things that I've done the first time is to look at electrochemistry and create a new setup to look at the coupling reaction, because people usually look at the movement of the electrons, but what we did is find an entirely new method to study the molecules. So the electrons are used as a functional group. So there are things that we can't do with a functional group, is when it's a two-step reaction. So at the second step, we need the withdrawal of the electrons. So usually we can't do that with conventional methods, because once we made the molecule, then that's the end of it. So once we made the molecule and did the experiments, we need to make a new molecule. But because we have added the electron, we can give it a positive electron, and then a negative electron, and then so in that way we can study the molecule and look at the reaction. So we need the drawing and the withdrawing of the electrons to study it, and then we can look at the reactions and then control the molecules over time. So in terms of measuring chemical reactions, this is an entirely new paradigm. So because it's already near lunch, I will end here. And I just want to say thank you to the many students who have helped me and are doing great research in my lab. Thank you very much.
감사합니다. 올해
Thank you,
우수
professors.
연구상을 수상하신
So we want to
교수님들의 강연을 모두
congratulate
들으셨습니다.
all professors who received the
이상으로
award today.
2021년
We will
리서치
now
데이
end
행사를 모두 마치겠습니다.
2021 Research Day event. We want to thank all participants who joined us today online and offline. Thank you.